We are live. Hello, Denise. Today,
Hi.
hi. Today, we are going to talk about how to brand yourself on social media and how to market yourself and do PR so that you can get international visibility. And my guest today is Denise Schroder, who is just amazing in regards to some of the things that she's done. She's been on Rachel Ray and Oprah Winfrey. She's been featured in the Inman News for out of the box marketing. And she's, in addition to just real estate, been on the Food Network and just all kinds of things that, I could just go on and on to say about you, Denise, but let's talk about you. So welcome, Denise. How are you today?
Great. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you. Tell me, so you've done a ton of marketing. So tell me a little bit more about that, and then we can sort of go from there.
Well, I realized that telling or story showing, as I call it, back in '99 when I wrote into the Oprah Winfrey show. And I wrote into her and I just talked to her about and I immediately got a response. And so I got flown out. They actually came to our house first and filmed us for 8 hours. And then we flew out and filmed the show. And it was one of the highest rated shows in 1999. And we got asked to come back to do a follow-up show. And Oprah Winfrey told me, sitting on the stage with her, that I had the gift of oration and storytelling. And so that was a pretty good validation that
a pretty good validation.
Pretty good validation that is storytelling, and that's really what marketing is to me, is telling stories. That's how it started, was with the Oprah Winfrey show.
So marketing is about telling stories. And I'm curious, Rachel, what was the topic that you did for those two interviews?
Do you really want to know?
I really want to know, yes.
Well, the topic was when your hormones change after you have a baby. And it's really difficult sometimes when doctors just want to give you an antidepressant. That's not what you need. So the show was titled Women Who Don't Want Sex, but it was due to hormonal imbalances. So of course the title really got attention for people, to watch this show. So it was really incredible.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, because I know that that's a topic that's relevant for many women, I'm sure. So after Oprah, what happened next?
Well, 22 years ago, I was married and had two kids, and I wanted to get my real estate license. I had worked in property management and been a leasing sales. Had my manager and other people around me were saying the natural progression would be for you to get your real estate license. Okay. And so I went to my husband and at the time and asked, that I really wanted him to support me in this. And unfortunately, he thought it would be an expensive hobby and was not supportive at all and told me I could never make it. So I shelved that dream obviously I went through a really acrimonious divorce. I spent about 50 grand getting sole custody of my children. And mother died at the same time at age 50 after being misdiagnosed with a hernia. So my life was a bad Lifetime movie at best. It was a really incredibly dark time. So in retrospect, it wouldn't have been the right time to get caged in and kind of in a box. It was really a blessing in disguise, because fast forward to 2009, I fell in love with my FedEx guy, and we blended. I know, isn't that great? He had amazing legs and like a Julia Roberts smile. So fell in love with this guy, and we were crazy enough to blend 5 teenagers, 4 of them being girls. So even nuttier. And we quit our jobs on the same day, year after we had gotten married. So we both wanted to be self-employed, and we didn't do real estate right away. We did a lot of other things that were really frustrating and was not my calling, by the way. But we landed getting our real estate licenses in 2012, really started in 2013. And what I found was I took the negative seed that someone planted in me 2 decades ago, saying I could never stand out, basically wasn't good enough, wasn't enough. And it would just be with signs of me, like it was some, you know, like it was just a vanity statement. And
So
decided to just be,
so that was you,
quirky.
Corky. I'm sorry for talking over top of you. We're on a little bit of a delay here. So that was you and your husband got licensed at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
We decided to get into real estate together. And I have always just had a really unique, quirky personality. And I've had a photography business in the past, and everything that I look at in terms of marketing, I look at through a lens. So I just look at everything through like a different creative approach. I literally drive people crazy around me because I want to video and take pictures and document everything, because everything
Sure.
has a story.
So as a real estate agent, how would you recommend, what suggestion do you have for a real estate agent, how they could best tell their story?
I think that you have to tap in to knowing who you are and defining who you are. And we didn't want to focus on our competition. I didn't care what my competition was doing because I wanted to be a barrier breaker and pave my own way. So I can remember in 2014, we really started doing business in 2013. A real estate journalist called me and wanted to do an article that we were the best in the industry for the year. It was a end of the year, huge publication. Like we had a full color page. It was a really big deal. And the title of the article was Using Humor to Sell Homes. And so what we did personally was we had to find a recipe where we had credibility. There's a time, but also a time to be extremely serious. This is people's largest investment.
Yeah.
So we had to find a way to earn our right to be creative. And in doing that, we had to have stellar bulletproof systems and consistency and coaching and accountability. All of those things were foundational. It wasn't just that, oh, we're creative and we stop the scroll. You have to have the other things in place, and your service has to be top notch, or the creativity just would crumble.
So assuming that an agent has the foundation and has the systems in place, is able to exceed the expectations of their client, and what you're saying is, I mean, in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, they literally say in there is the models are the foundation and you get creative at the top. So what you're talking about is that creativity at the top after the models are in place, or at least after the foundation is there. So assuming that foundation is in place, as an agent, how could they then be creative to be effective?
So one of the examples I have that I love, and we all do open houses, right? If you're an agent, you should be doing open houses. So open house at a house that was my dream house. It was a Victorian house. It's kind of a landmark in my little town that I live in. At this open house. And so instead of just putting signage and marketing, which we did all of those things, I put my wedding dress on and I got in front of the house video, and I had a big ring from like Party Bazaar store. And I did a video and I said, you're going to love this house so much, you're going to want to marry it. Hashtag put a ring on it. So things like that, when you think outside the box, it's like, I've done human advertising. Like I'll stand in the corner, Troy will be in the open house, and I'll be dancing on the corner holding signs up. Like you have to do things that are different, because in my market, 6,000 realtors. How are you going to stand out? So
Yeah.
you've got to step out of your comfort zone. Because I know a lot of your listeners are thinking, never do that. There's absolutely no way I could ever do that. But you've got to step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, it's also embracing. You already mentioned is about embracing your personality as well. I am curious when you did the thing with the wedding dress. Did you have a bunch of FedEx trucks like drive past you in the front, like a convoy of FedEx trucks?
I should have. I should have been friends with you then.
That would have been fun. So you've done a lot of creative things at the top. What's one thing that you've done that's been creative that you would say, I would maybe do that differently if I was, or not do it at all? Is there one that comes to mind?
One time we did a post where our faces and bodies were morphed, and I was talking about how, Troy was going to handle everything for the day, and I thought it was creatively G people out. So my point in that is everything that you post or you create, you're not going to nail it, and that's
Yeah,
okay. You just have to put yourself out there, and you've got to take the step to find your own personality, because you can't, not me, but you can take some of the ideas and principles and grow from them, and really just start to push yourself a little bit to not just do the monotonous vanilla marketing that every realtor does.
of course, of course. Now you've gotten contacted or you've been featured on many different publications, many different media, print media, television media. I'm assuming maybe radio, and certainly social media. Let's say if you're looking to connect with print media, television, or radio, what strategy would you suggest to employ to be able to make those connections?
It's all about relationships, just like it is our database. It's all relationship focused. So the journalist that contacted us in 2014 has become a really good friend of mine. He's extremely supportive in the way that we approach doing business, but he's even more supportive and the way we serve. So he knows that we come from a servant's heart, and we have the intentionality to serve like we're chosen, and we have them. I am constantly in contact with, commenting on his posts, and this goes for anyone in radio. I'm in contact with them as well. I comment on their things. I'll message them periodically on LinkedIn. My HGTV director that I have says, you have a buyer, let's do another show, things like that. So you want to be the type of person that people want to work with and want to be in relationship with, and you always show extreme gratitude.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, those are good rules of thumb for not just value, not just relationships that are sort of a pivot point to something, to something else, but also really just in relationships, all relationships, relationship with our clients, with our family, with everybody. It's just add value and contribution.
Absolutely. And that's served us well in just being relationship focused, because we have had news channels, like local news stations, that reach out to us to be the real estate resource. And that's kind of what you want to be. You want to be the expert and journalist in your own communities. So it's really been a beautiful thing that we've been able to develop in our business.
Now, I'm curious if you've had the same experience as I've had, but I'm thinking maybe not. So I've also had the privilege to be able to be featured on national news, et cetera. And I've used that more as a credibility builder rather than to be able to get, to be able to attract business. It's more, it allows for people that are connecting with me in other ways to, see that I'm valid in the way that I'm going to help them. Have you gotten business from that, or has it just been a credibility or something in between?
The first year that we've done House Hunters HGTV, the first time we did it, our business grew the next year by 50%. And
Okay.
so I think the TV avenue directly related to real estate with what we do. We then moved on to do Steve Harvey, and I did a season of Worst Cooks in America on Food Network just this summer. And so every time I was listed on screen, it said my name and what my occupation is. How great is that? And then with Steve Harvey, he introduces us as blended family experts, and he says we're real estate agents that quit our jobs. And so I use that in my marketing for a testimonial video. Steve Harvey's introducing us. So we've used all of it to kind of, no matter what the topic is, we always bring it back to real estate. So it's been awesome.
What was the worst thing you cooked?
I had to spatchcock a chicken. Do you even know what that is? Like dissect.
I have no idea what spatchcocking is.
Either, but you dissect the chicken, and I was supposed to cut the foot off. Well, I didn't cut the foot off. I left it on, and I was trying to saw it off right before I had to present it to the judges. And I don't know how I survived that week, but I named my cat after Chef Ann on this show, and I think she kept me because we were both crazy cat ladies.
That is fantastic. So your cat's named Chef Ann?
Her name's Kiki Ann.
Kiki Ann. All right. Fantastic. So maybe your friends calls her Chefy.
Yeah, exactly.
So besides media, how else do you get business?
Well, most of it is honestly through social media. One of the tips I have is I add every client to our personal page. That is where my relationship building comes. I don't post anything that's inappropriate that I wouldn't want clients to see. So I add everyone, and then I add them to be notified every time I post, which when you've got 2,000 people and 5,000 friends or 2,000 in your database, it gets a bit overwhelming. However, Facebook is a cheat sheet, and it's like a blueprint in what's going on in my clients' lives. And I write a lot of handwritten notes. So my love language is words of affirmation. So I love scrolling through and seeing if there's someone to congratulate, or someone that needs an encouraging word, maybe someone's a pet or lost a job. And it just gives you a prompting in how to stay in touch and how to do so. And are we frozen?
We were frozen there for a moment, yet we are unfrozen.
Good.
We'll see how this goes. The universe doesn't like one of our internet connections, but we'll see how this goes. So I didn't quite hear the last piece of that yet. What I did hear was about really just staying in touch, utilizing the online social media, Facebook as a guidebook to inside people's lives, because we're all posting our lives on there. It's really just about paying attention and then commenting, whether it's positive or negative, and writing a handwritten note, maybe giving a phone call, text, that type of thing. Is that what you were finishing to say there?
Yes, of course we have 36 tabs.
Yeah.
And we have all the traditional ways that we keep in touch. We do a monthly newsletter, and very deeply involved relationally through social media, like I said, just because it is such a blueprint in what's going on in their lives, and it just makes it so easy for me to be able to touch base. And I also take astringent notes on the names of their pets, the names of their kids, what they do for a living, where they work. All of these things are important because I'm doing life with them, so I need to know them. So those things are really important. When you have a huge database, you've got to take good notes, because we're all human. We can't remember everybody, every detail about our clients' lives. So.
Sure. What database do you use?
Right now I'm using Command, because I'm with Keller Williams and I'm really enjoying Command, and I use MailChimp for years, and I'm getting ready to start teaching and speaking more. So I'll probably be using StreamYard. I love this, but we're using. StreamYard has been good, and go ahead. I'm sorry. One other thing that I think is cool is for birthdays. Everybody has a birthday, and Facebook helps us out with that too. but find a different way to say happy birthday to people. Something that I do is I send people Marilyn Monroe singograms, personalized. So I used to do singing back in the day to make extra money. So that is something that I do. And sometimes I show up at somebody's office for big birthdays. One of the things I did was I was able to go do a singing telegram to a client that turned 50. And of course, I wrote into the newspaper and about singing happy birthday to one of the administrators of the school system in my area. So there's just different things that you can do, and always link it back to, is there a story that I could write a press release or a human interest story? Because they're always looking for content, always.
Yeah, I used to do the singing birthday telegrams, but then they ran me out of town, so I had to start all over. So I think we have to stay with our strengths, right?
You had to keep your day job.
I had to keep my day job. Rachel, I'm gonna sort of wrap this up. There's a couple things that I want to hear about, because I'm really interested in them specifically. But because we're having a little bit of difficulty here, I'm just going to wrap this up. But I want to hear from you. You're writing a book right now, is that correct? You're pretty close to finishing it.
I just finished it and getting ready to send it to the editor.
Okay, all right. So you're sending it to the editor, and what can you tell us about the book?
The book is basically the art of what I call story showing. It's about telling a story, but it's about showing the story and being able to do that in a unique way. Through the story should be about your clients. And when you do social media, you don't want them to feel sold to. You want them to feel like they're being served. And one thing that we did recently, we had kind of a mindset shift, was our hashtag used to be something that we put on Facebook, all of our fun pictures at closing or just sold or whatever. Now we changed it to hashtag serve like a Schroder, because I feel like if we all come from a place of serving like we're chosen, which, by the way, I know there's thousands of realtors in every marketplace. When you get a phone call, we need to serve and treat them like we are absolutely in full gratitude mode, because there's so many other choices. And so that's why we have just focused on not just delivering a promise, but we focus on the delivery of every step of the entire service aspect of it. And our motto is red carpet treatment. It's been great since we do a lot of TV stuff, but I always want everyone to feel like they're special and adored, and that it's all about them. Yeah.
I love the perspective that it's all about them. They are special. They are adored. I also love the fact about the gratitude. It's something that I've embraced in my business because I personally go on a lot of listing appointments, which if you go on a ton of listing appointments, there's going to be a few that don't hire you. And a few years ago, because I'm such a competitive spirit, I used to, get a little bit, I wouldn't feel great about that when I first started. And a couple of years ago, I had this aha where I transitioned my perspective on it, which was the fact that there's 11,000 plus real estate agents in my marketplace. And I was one of 3 that had the opportunity to apply for a job, which means that there's 10,000 and 997 that did not have that opportunity. And I believe that when you can look at it in that perspective, that it's just like, oh my goodness, I am so grateful I had this opportunity. Now, I would have liked to have gotten a listing, yet I think that shift has really helped me a lot.
I agree. I mean, if you think about it with those numbers, just being chosen as one of the 3, the most elite of the elite, what a compliment that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not going to be a fit for everyone.
That's correct. That's correct. Nor they may not be the right fit for me either. So that's there's power in recognizing that as well.
I think another thing that agents can do in terms of nurturing, dating their database, but not just touching base, really reaching out and asking, how can we help you in your business? Yeah. So that is one thing that I find really other people grow. And if you are constantly trying to seek out how to help other people build their businesses, I think it comes back to you. It's like the law of reciprocity. You know, you give and people want to give back in return. We had a painter recently that called us and says, Dry, I'm really stressed out. I hate to ask you this, but could you please market for me on your real estate pages? Please. He pulled up a before and after of him painting our kitchen cabinets. I posted him on several private real estate pages, and a bunch of local got work for 2 months.
That's fantastic.
2 hours. So
that's just
that,
fantastic.
To me, so much cooler than build a house in one day, but helping somebody put food on the table, just by our contacts and resources. Your sound went off. Your sound went off.
What's the name of your book?
Actually, it's called Lights, Camera, Story.
Lights, Camera, Story. I love that. That is fantastic. And if I am a home buyer or home seller in your marketplace, or if I have a referral for Oklahoma City, how can I get in touch with you?
You can find me on Instagram at Denise Sells Oklahoma, or you can find me on Facebook. And my husband and I have a joint page because we are hooked at the hip. We're together. So my Facebook is Denise, N as in Nancy, like it's my middle name, Troy Schroder. I know that's confusing. You should be able to find me. And if you can find me on Instagram, we can connect through Facebook. That'd be great.
I'll tell you what, I can't think of a woman that wouldn't be connected at the hip with the FedEx guy, a guy with the great legs. So, you know, you've got good taste there.
Thank you so much.
Denise, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.
Have a great day.
You too.
Give us a thumbs up by clicking the like button below. Don't forget to subscribe to